Budgeting is often described as the foundation of financial success. If you can just track your spending, control your impulses, and stick to a plan, everything else is supposed to fall into place. But for millions of people, budgeting doesn't lead to stability, it leads to frustration. And the problem isn't that people don't try. The problem is that budgeting asks humans to behave in ways modern life actively discourages. Most budgets fail quietly, not in dramatic moments, but in ordinary ones. A busy week, an unexpected expense, a moment of stress, a small reward that feels justified. None of these decisions feel irresponsible on their own. Imagine someone who carefully tracks their expenses. They know where their money goes, they've created categories, they've set limits. But every month, something breaks the plan. A medical bill, a car repair, a social obligation, a price increase they didn't anticipate. Over time, the budget stops feeling like a tool. It starts feeling like a test they keep failing. Budgeting assumes a stable environment, but modern financial life is anything but stable. Prices fluctuate, subscriptions renew automatically, costs rise quietly. Emergencies are common, not rare. And yet, budgeting frameworks often treat surprises as exceptions. They're not exceptions, they're the system. This creates a psychological trap. When people fail their budget, they don't question the system, they question themselves. They assume a lack of discipline, a lack of control, a lack of willpower. But discipline is fragile, structure is durable. Budgets rely heavily on constant decision-making. Every purchase becomes a negotiation. Every expense becomes a choice. Every deviation feels like a mistake. But decision-making is exhausting. The more decisions you're required to make, the more likely you are to default to convenience. This is why people who appear disciplined often rely on automation. They don't decide every day to do the right thing. They design their environment so the wrong thing is harder. When budgeting requires daily effort, it eventually collapses under its own weight. Not because people are weak, but because the system demands too much. Most budgets focus on control, but control isn't the same as alignment. They focus on restricting behavior rather than shaping it. They track spending instead of reducing friction. They monitor outcomes instead of designing inputs. This creates tension, and tension isn't sustainable. Over time, people abandon the budget not because they don't care, but because the process feels punishing. A system that requires constant effort will eventually fail. A system that runs quietly in the background will not. The failure of budgeting isn't a personal flaw. It's a mismatch between human behavior and system design. Budgets assume consistency in a world built on variability. They assume control in an environment optimized for consumption. Understanding this doesn't mean giving up responsibility. It means shifting focus away from constant monitoring and toward better structure. Because stability doesn't come from tracking every dollar. It comes from leading to think about money less.